Welcome to the Tommy Show, everybody. Thank you. Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow, how you guys doing? Look at that.
Give it up for the live studio audience.
Wow. You guys make it so much better. So good.
Give it up for everyone on the balcony.
Yeah, up there. Up the stairs.
Yeah.
So, it makes it so much better with you guys here. It does. I mean, when we have a live audience every week, but if we get like 3 people in here, I'm not doing the show anymore. I mean, for that day, it just makes it better. I got a couple questions. Did you end up going to the races last week?
You know what? I did go to opening day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it now? Was it? Isn't it wonderful when you see the athleticism, and the muscularity, and they're parading by.
Yes.
And then there's the horses. It is one of those things where if you live in North County, like in that area,
yeah.
I hear that Del Martians don't go to opening day. They just wait to see.
They wait.
They wait for the aftermath. Afterwards, the walk of shame the next morning. When some guy all dressed to the nines on the next day is sitting on the curb, and that thought, well, there's a few of them. It's a great drive. If you go down to Del Mar day after opening day and get out there around 6:30 in the morning, like you go get a coffee or something, it is the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. It is so, and the best part is that thought bubble when you drive by guys like that seemed like such a good idea at the time, right? So, yeah, it's wonderful and brings a lot of economic impact to San Diego and Del Mar specifically.
Congratulations to Joe Harper.
Yeah, Joe Harper's.
Give it up for Joe Harper.
Good job. Did you, and the other thing is we didn't get a chance, did you go to the fair at all this year?
A couple times.
I didn't go at all.
Really?
I mean, I just never made it this year. And I always like going there at least one time in the beginning. But I'll tell you what, the traffic patterns in San Diego changed completely when, what do they have, game day or something, or 2-for-1 day or something? I mean, there's a couple gnarly traffic days. So I hope we don't lose that fair. At the same time, don't you wish it was still called Del Mar Fair?
Just like the Price Club.
Price
Club, Del Mar
the Murph.
Fair. Yeah.
Although that's not there anymore, so I guess that's a problem.
I remember the Murph when it was just called the Stadium.
Yes, San Diego Stadium.
Yeah.
1965 built.
Wow.
$25 million, all taxpayer money. And it was even got architectural. That was a sad day seeing that. Now, have you been to the new stadium?
I have not been.
I haven't either.
Snapdragon.
Yeah, that's a thing of beauty. Although speaking of stadiums, how about those Padres? My goodness, the Petco Park. Have you guys been to Petco Park lately? You guys been to its live? Isn't that just teeming with economic impact? Mm-hmm. Like you walk there and I can see all the money being spent. It makes me. I watch more of the people than I do the game half the time. It's a wonderful thing. All right, what do we got? What did you put together?
I'm excited about the 3 guests here. It's like a television anchor,
Yeah.
great show. As
Well, there's some great stories there.
Let's bring out our very first guest. She is the co-anchor of Good Evening San Diego on KUSI. From Madison High School, Teresa Sardina.
Good at this. What's up,
Oh
sister?
my goodness.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
How many times have you been on the show now?
I think it's my 4th time.
We don't have you enough because I would like to do a video of you walking out because every other there's only 3 guys know how to do it. You're one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
Good to see everybody.
Well, yeah, sure.
And I love that you're local. You're from Madison High School.
Yeah,
you can't get any more local
Claremont.
than that.
Madison Warhawks.
That's right, class of 2001.
And our beloved mayor went to Madison, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
See?
Where did you go?
Madison's not too bad, right?
Where did you go? Castle Park?
I went to Castle Park.
I went to Claremont.
Claremont rivals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
How
I
are
went
you
to
guys doing?
We're doing
Good.
Take it easy on me, okay? I'm just kidding.
What's So we've seen you go from outside reporter all the way up to anchor.
Yeah, I'm
Is this
so
a dream?
thankful. I feel so blessed. I mean, it was quite a surprise. So it's been a good
What-
team on Good Evening San Diego.
And she's come full circle. Like, what was it when you?
Well, I started out as an intern at KUSI News.
Yeah.
Then I was at NBC Los Angeles as an intern, and then came back to KUSI as a production assistant. So our former news director, Steve Cohen, he hired me as the intern. And then from there, I went to Tyler, Texas for a few years, and I was a reporter and anchor there. And then I went to Fresno for 5 years.
In other words, you paid your dues.
Definitely paid my dues. It was a lot of work, a
What's
huge
it like
sacrifice.
starting in San Diego and then ending up in Fresno? It's like,
It was tough. You know,
Yeah.
my mind,
Sorry.
my goal was
Sorry,
on
Fresno.
San Diego to work really hard and make it back home. And then I was at a different TV station in San Diego for a couple years, and then went to KUSI. So I've been there for about 3 years and 4 months.
So if you go to Fresno and go to the grocery store, will people say, "Oh my gosh, there's Teresa Sardina"?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, kinda.
did you when you started? Did you always want to be on TV? Was that your goal?
No, my first major was public relations.
Oh, you wanted
Yeah.
to book the guests.
Yeah, I wanted to book the guests, and I wanted to, produce and kind of coordinate shows. And
Did you have to be talked into being on camera, like when you were a production assistant or a PA or whatever?
yeah, it was actually former meteorologist Terry Burnhams. I'm sure many of you remember Terry.
Yeah.
He said, Teresa, you got to take this media class, like an internship class in the summer. So while I was an intern at KUSI, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And then I always looked up to Kathleen Bade, Kimberly Hunt, and Barbara Edwards, and they just always inspired me over the years.
Who is the one? Remember Carol LeBeau?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this is for San Diegans who've been here since. Jonathan Dunrankin. Come on.
Al Coupe.
Al Coupe. Johnny Downs. Come on.
Al Clement.
So is it different being in on set versus out on the street? Do you
Absolutely.
prefer one over the other?
But I feel really comfortable because working out in the field, reporting for so many years, you get familiar with the community, so many different stories, so many officials. So I feel a little bit more confident on the news desk. I mean, there's still a lot of research and things to look over, but yeah, I mean, it's a huge difference. I feel like it's more work being a news reporter.
Yeah, because you have to prep. Because you have to prep each story
Yeah, the
and you have to research
deadlines.
each story.
But that's why you're so good as an anchor, because you know all the stories.
Oh, thank you, Tommy.
I watch you all the time.
Now you know who's coming on next. Like with this merger of or acquisition, KUSI from
Yeah, I've been
Fox
doing
5.
some bonding in the green
like
room
that?
because we all have different schedules. So it's so nice to talk to them. And
Well, and it's good to see. It's good to see. Like one of our guests today works on both stations. Elizabeth Alvarez, you see on both stations. It's kind of nice to see familiar faces again.
Yeah.
Because when they leave, they leave.
Well, let's bring out our next guest.
All right, let's do it.
Celebrating 6 years at Fox 5. You can see her on KUSI as well. Kasia Gregorczyk.
All right.
What's up, Kasia?
Puts me in a good mood, you know?
Did you pick your walk-on song?
Yeah, I did.
What made you pick that rocker?
In honor of my dad. He's a good music guy. He loves
Yeah.
classic rock and all the good stuff. so-
Interesting. Tommy likes classic rock too.
Oh, yeah.
Did you? Real quick question. Speaking of music, did you stop listening when 1980s came? So you're stuck from 1979.
I listened to 91X in the 80s.
All right, very good.
But Kasia,
Yes.
it's so cool to have you on at KUSI.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I love watching you on weekends, but also you're celebrating 6 years
Yes.
at Fox 5.
Yes.
How cool is that?
So cool. I never thought I'd be in San Diego this long, to be honest. I'm from Orange County originally. And it was always kind of my goal to get up to LA. That was, the home market, if you will. But then this became home really quickly. I thought I was just here for a 2-year contract, and then COVID hit in 2020. We all know that plans changed during that time. And so I just kind of kept signing contracts and stayed a little longer, had my daughter, and then this really became home. So here I am 6 years later. It's honestly very hard to believe that
Like-
how much time has passed.
Teresa, she went to Tyler, Texas, and then Fresno. You kind of did the same thing. Where did you go?
Oh yeah, so I went to Wausau, Wisconsin first, a very small town. Never had heard of it, had never even set foot in Wisconsin before I took the job, by the way. I just took the job, drove there. I'm sure you did the same.
Oh, yeah.
And just showed up. It was snow on the ground. I mean, I'm from Orange County, and so yeah, I'd never seen a real winter. This is like 2 hours from the Canadian border, pretty much. It was, or I guess UP, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but so close to just, the north, the frigid winters. So yeah, I went there first and was there for about a year and a half, and then New Mexico for 3 years, and then here.
What was your first job? Was it you went right to field reporting, or you?
Yeah. I was actually a morning reporter, so I had a little more fun back then. But not that my job now isn't fun, but it's so much more serious.
And she got promoted, so now she's anchoring the evenings on the weekend too. So congratulations.
Yeah, good. I got a question. So, in the radio business, whether you have experience or not in the beginning, you just have to be in the building. And we said this a million times. I mean, if you're in the mailroom, I mean, look at Emily on the show. Was at the reception desk. You know, if you're in the room, something's going to happen eventually if you last long enough. How do you guys get jobs in TV without having experience to go right on camera?
We were just talking about this in the green room, how hard it was when we started, because you have to start out in a smaller market. You have to get a resume tape. You have to go out in the field and shadow different reporters. And
they don't even use the word tape anymore.
Yeah. And it was a lot of work. And you just have to submit it was at that time a DVD.
Yeah.
You have to just submit it to so many small markets across the country.
Like put it in the mail and send it.
Yeah.
Now, is that how it's done now?
No, just digitally. Everything's digital, like a YouTube link. Yeah.
But could someone who didn't have experience, for example, you didn't have experience when you went to Wisconsin. Was your first
Other
job?
than, I think we went to the same college, Kasia Gregorczyk, right? So we had majored in broadcast journalism. So college gives you a little bit of that. We did internships, which were at news stations.
Well, but all
Okay.
three of you have the look.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
radio.
There's a reason we didn't start on TV.
Hi.
Radio.
You'll note that
television.
we did not start on TV.
I think it's not the look, but more the willingness to put yourself out there. I always liked public speaking. It never worried me or made me scared or nervous like it does most people. So I kind of felt like, okay, I should do something with that, because most people don't want to speak in front of crowds or this, that, or the other. But I felt like it just came natural for people like us.
I was
It's
nervous my
intimidating.
first news job too, going live, never going live on TV.
Yeah.
And they give you the story and they say, okay, and and they dial in and they talk to you through your earpiece and they say, you're live, go. And you're like, ah.
Do you
I know, isn't
remember?
that something?
Do you remember the first time the camera was on you and you were live for the very first time?
100%. In Wisconsin, it was a road closure story during a storm. It's like, that'll always be burned in my mind. And I just thought, what am I doing? I have no idea. Like, I'm not from Wisconsin. I'm talking to people I've never met. I'm not familiar with these roads, but you just kind of had to quickly familiarize yourself. And same thing when I went to New Mexico, and same thing when I got here. And now the communities and the cities are so much more, familiar to me, because we spend every day out with the community, out in the field, telling different stories in different areas. And so now it feels much more.
Speaking of weather,
Oh yeah, let's
yes.
bring her out.
speaking of weather,
Our next guest. Originally from LA. She's on KUSI and Fox 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Danica McAdam.
imagine that. Tommy books three.
Three television anchors.
Yeah, like you didn't. Yeah, but this is maybe the
Television
best looking guest we've ever had. I mean, seriously.
I appreciate
He
it.
said that before, right?
But Danica, you actually grew up going to a television station.
I did.
Tell us about that in Los Angeles.
My dad was a production director there for 43 years at KTLA. And so I grew up with him going there in the newsroom.
Wait. How many years?
43 years, my dad, yeah. Bill Lawrence. Yeah.
Legendary station, yeah.
KTLA, back in the days of Carlos Amezcua up there, correct?
Carlos.
Who was
yes,
our
he
anchor
worked with
here.
Carlos, yep, he worked with, I know Carlos.
I know
well
your
from
dad.
back
Wow,
then.
what a story.
I did too.
He was Hal Fishman's stage manager for a number of years. That's how kind of people knew him, was Hal Fishman's stage manager. And then he worked with, Michaela on the morning show,
So
and
when big-
Sam Rubin, of course.
When big rock stars went into KTLA because they got all the big rock stars. Did your dad say, "Hey, Danica, come with me"?
No, never. He never bring me in, but he always had this kind of a funny situation that people kind of like just just remember him for Snoop Dogg came on one morning, and he was, getting him mic'd up and ready to go. And
Oh my God, your dad's a stoner.
Now he is. It was a contact high.
People thought like he and Snoop were buds because Snoop's doing his whole like hands. Well, thanks, Bill. You got it, Bill. And people were like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
your father. And I'm like, that is not my father. He is from Dallas, Texas. He was like in theater growing up in college, and no, but him and Snoop, they're pals.
Cred he got there.
He really did, yeah.
How long have you been at Fox 5?
Well, I just started there really at KUSI and Fox, like in end of May, maybe June. So just been like a month or so officially.
And you work with Kasia at night.
I get to work with Kasia every weekend in the evenings, yes, and I fill in over at Fox 5, and I've filled in for Mark Mathis with Teresa, so that's been fun.
While Mark was partying,
Yeah.
So I told him he owed me babysitting money because I had to hire a sitter to fill in for him. So I was like, hey.
But she is no
Venmo.
stranger to San Diego news. She's been
She's a veteran.
been around. Yeah.
I've been here a little while. I was at another station. I was at NBC for a year before I had our children. Never heard of it? No?
One of those other
That's
ones.
a great one. And then after college, I went to SDSU, graduated from San Diego State, and I interned and worked as a part-time writer at KUSI. So that was really fun back in 07, which didn't you start?
Around that time.
Yeah, I think I might have. Okay.
07 you started?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was a little bit ago. And then I interned at Channel 8, and then I worked at Fox 5 when they launched their station, which was really cool. I worked 24 hours that day. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
It was the whole morning show, the evening show with Kathleen, and Arthel Neville was anchoring that morning show with Raoul at the time. So anyway, well, I say all this to say that I made it full. I feel like I made it full
And
circle.
just like Kasia and Teresa, you've also paid your dues. You've been to where?
I started in Idaho Falls, Idaho, so it's kind of similar story where like you go and it snows and there's ice on the ground, black ice, you have to learn how to drive, and I grew up in LA and Burbank, and I mean, I didn't even know what an ice scraper was, like
I was just going to say
so
that. I didn't know what it was either.
I didn't know, and so I was royally made fun of.
Yeah.
So Idaho Falls, and then Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was there for 2 years. That's where I met my husband, Jeff. He was doing sports at the time. I was doing news, yada, yada, yada. That worked out. And then Tampa Bay, Florida, and then Salt Lake City.
Jeez.
And then I left news for like half
wins.
both rooms.
But then you ended up in the 8th largest ADI market in the US, which is great.
Right.
Big city.
All over the place, yeah. I left news a couple times. Once to recruit talent for news, and then recruited myself back into news.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, right? I pulled a few strings.
Come on.
All right, Danica McAdam, Teresa Sardina, Kasia Gregorczyk, Sully.
On the air, it's on the air. See you in a minute. All right. Look at this. A full house. Once again, look at this beautiful light. I want to know, in a news environment, how different would it be if you guys had a live audience?
Oh, a totally different game.
Wouldn't that be great?
Totally different
I
game.
mean, like
I get more
booing
nervous
story, like
when there's people right next to us, like when we're going.
yeah, I do a
live,
political
yeah.
story. People are booing. People are clapping.
Oh,
Right.
that has
I mean, it's
happened.
happened. Yeah, it's happened.
Out on the street, if you're
Yeah.
doing a live shot in the corner somewhere, you get those like nasty drive-bys, basically.
Only
Oh,
people
right.
can see what's behind the scenes. When
Yeah,
you're
it's
trying to
inside
focus
baseball.
and you're reporting, and then
Yeah.
you have people just heckling behind the photographer. You get distracted, but you have to just focus.
And it's basically when you're on the street, it's basically two of you, right? The camera stringer and you guys.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they'd have a full sound guy. And the whole thing.
Like a truck.
Speaking of live shots, I'm always amazed at you guys. When you guys are on the field doing a story, it sounds and feels like you're an expert to that topic. How do you guys prepare? Like, what's the secret? Because when you guys stand there, you're outside, downtown building doing a story, it seems like you know exactly what's going on, and I don't see any notes.
You have to know your story.
Yeah.
You have to research. You have to retain the information. I was always told from news directors, don't ever memorize the content. Otherwise, when you're live and if you forget, you get thrown off.
Yeah, you want
If you
bullet
have an
points,
idea-
right?
Yeah.
Just an idea of what
Yeah,
you want to say.
usually have like 3 or 4 bullet points in your head, just, you have to just focus.
I do always say we learn a little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah, Yes. That's what I love about it.
It's so fascinating. I feel like we end up becoming like a mini expert on a topic for the day, and the next day it's a totally different
Well, and that's a great thing. You have to start over every day in this business. Like it starts
You learn a
from
lot
scratch.
about it. Every day's a new day. So when our shift is over, you don't have to think about that newscast at all. Every day is a new
That's why when I was doing afternoons at Kogo for several years, I got handed with the gift that was Bob Filner. And I didn't have to start every day. You had a story out there of a creep that the story opened up, and it was, I remember like for maybe a month, 5 weeks, it was so easy to prep because you're always following it. What's the difference these days versus when you guys first got in the business?
Difference finding stories. I would say it's a lot more social media, what people are talking about online. I think you used to just be much more connected person to person. It was more word of mouth back in the day, I feel like, finding stories, and now it's like so-and-so vented about something on social media or it went viral. You hear that word a lot, and then therefore it gets on everybody's radar. That is something that I feel like is much more part of this newer wave of journalism for sure, which can be dangerous because of course people can put anything they want online, and we have to try so hard to
Plus
verify
everybody's
everything.
consuming at the speed of light, right? I mean, we
Yes.
consume our news so much differently. You had to go home, open up the Sentinel, right, when you got home from the green paper in the
What
afternoon.
is that again? Is that a news?
You guys weren't even born yet.
Is it
When I was a kid, news was what happened.
Yeah.
Now news is what's happening.
Right now and tomorrow and
Yeah, I mean, the words live and local didn't really ring true back when we were growing up. And what's interesting is you would have, like, for example, I can check, in fact, let me just take this time to check the market.
You want to check the weather too on there?
I usually do this on the break, but I can do real time on the market.
Yeah.
Before, you'd have to get up the next morning. You'd have to open up the business section, and you'd have to, you guys remember this? You had to run your finger down and look at the stock symbol, and this is how it closed yesterday. I would have no idea what the market was doing the day before unless you actually got to the paper, opened it up, and it was not real time at all. And I think that's one of the pieces of this for you guys, is that even at the desk, it's moving at the speed of light still. And the way they're consuming you is not just through the TV. They're now at the same time augmenting their experience with social media. In fact, I think one of my greatest things when I'm watching baseball, and I'm a huge Phillies fan, a huge Padres fan, I got my phone here looking at Twitter on what they're saying at the same time. It augments the experience in such a great way. So when you guys prep, are you guys preparing for that? Are you guys cognizant of the fact that you have to realize that it's going to come out here and it's going to be here in about 10 seconds?
Of course, yeah. It's very difficult. We have our phones, we have the internet up. We always have to be looking because news is always changing. Sometimes the scripts are put in maybe an hour before the show, but we're always fact checking, making sure that stories are updated. But yeah, as you were saying, we have our phones right there and just checking updates because sometimes we do miss things. Things are late, but
people are not they're not the most forgiving. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Because they want us to be
Oh,
on
we
it at
lament
all
our
times.
losses 3 times more than we celebrate our gains. I'm like, if somebody makes a mistake, you remember that.
Totally. Well, like this weekend would be a fantastic example. Gigantic news story, right? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. That's going to be in the news cycle for a long time. That was changing every 15 minutes. I had to make sure that the scripts were up to date right before we went on at 6 o'clock because truly things had changed every hour.
And everything you hear first is usually a little wrong.
Exactly. Yes. And you're just going off of what's been confirmed so far, even though everyone can kind of guess what may have happened or, we can't guess.
Yeah, so they're trusting each other too, because sometimes Logan and I will go off script because we're getting information on our phone or the computer. So we're going off script and our producers are like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? What are you saying? But they have to trust.
So
if you don't know what we're talking about the national anthem at the
No, so my question is this, because there is still competition through all media in this town to break the story. So there's got to be a balance of accuracy and let's get it out there first, right?
Always.
So is management, your program directors on you about that stuff?
They're very strict about it, I would say, at all the stations I've worked at. in San Diego. They're very, very strict about making sure that you don't want to be first even. Like that's, I've been told that. Like make sure you're right before you're first.
Right.
And that is critical. I mean, we were getting management emails on Saturday after former President Trump was shot, like, hey, do not say assassination until that language has been confirmed by the FBI. Like, we need to know exactly what happened. So we're very aware of that, and we're listening and we're paying attention. I think what's scary, you brought this up a minute ago, and you're talking about social media and change, is AI. Like that is very much freaking me out a lot because of the way things are, we're being lied to constantly.
Well, you could be on TV and you're not on TV, and somebody just made it of you.
And someone says this is you, and it's me talking, but it's not me talking. Like that part scary, really is scary for fact checking. You really have to find the right sources. And beat calling, picking up the phone instead of looking at social media, like that's old school. I did that for years and years. Picking up the phone, calling every, local leader in town, whatever, municipality it was. Like we're calling them all to fact check, find out what's going on, what's new. So I think that might be where we go back to because of AI. Let's go back and start calling everyone we know and trust so that we can make sure the story airs
A long time ago,
correctly.
before you guys were born, when I was on the radio and something happened in the news, just say, like, Joey Jones from San Diego did this. We would have to call all the Joey Jones in San Diego. On a landline, we'd have to call 411 and get all the Joey Jones, and you were only allowed 3 Joey Joneses. And I remember always calling, "Are you the Joey Jones that robbed the bank? No, are you the Joey Jones?" And that's how we used to do it. And then the internet came out and then changed the world.
Yeah, and thank you for what you do, because you set up all the guests on our morning shows, our evening shows.
I worked with him a lot. I'm also a publicist. Like I worked with Tommy to help work with nonprofits and.
No, I love working with all 3 of you now.
Oh my God, mutual admiration
Oh,
society.
we love
My
working
God.
with you, Sully.
On the air, it's on the air. Good job, everyone. Good stuff.
Best band ever. Give it up for the band.
Speaking of bands, Barry McAdam, of course, over here in the corner, you recognize her because she's our den mother here. She handles all social media and gets the audience in. Let's talk about the audience. How can people come see the show?
Oh, yes. Email me at audience@loft100studios.com, and we'll get you in. We have a lot of recurring faces. I love it. Lots of fans coming in.
Yeah, that's good.
It's great. We have a lot of fun.
What was I going to say to you? Oh, yeah. Who wants to hear Tommy sing a song? Oh, yeah. Come on.
No,
Dude. Oh,
I'm not prepared.
yeah, so sorry.
I'm not prepared to do a song. Everybody on their feet.
Let's go.
Get on your feet.
Oh.
Yeah. Little louder, everybody. Little louder over there. Well, I was going lonely down by the riverside. Run the spin fortune wheels and roll dice. I was just 13 when I had to leave home. Knew I couldn't stick around. I had to roam a good
keep telling you. You can't. You have to do a song every week. It's a thing. Don't you think the show's better when Tommy does a song?
Totally. What about an instrument too?
What was that?
We should have you playing an instrument.
You can play
get you
guitar.
on TikTok.
I can play. I can play a triangle.
Can you?
My influence.
You can play
is,
guitar. You have 100 guitars.
My influence is Tracy Partridge from the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
Really? That's who inspired you?
Yes.
Amazing.
I can
Can
play
you sing? Can we have you do like a
can't.
like a Bruno Mars song sometime?
Bruno Mars.
CeeLo Green.
I don't know about that.
What about the song "Forget You"?
I sing that to you every time I leave here. I sing that to you.
If you're not familiar, go look it up on the way home. So talk about your musical taste, girls. What are we thinking? I know you're eclectic as hell. You listen to everything.
I do. I love it all. I love oldies. I love rock.
Let me tell you something about oldies.
Country, reggae.
Let me tell you something oldies. Duran Duran was on the radio 40 years ago.
Dang.
Oldies, right? When they were releasing their album in 1982, oldies was 1942. Think about this time space. What, like this flock of seagulls. Oldie.
Yeah.
What is
Crazy.
I like oldies like the Shirelles and
Wow.
yeah, I like that.
Those are that's the ancients.
That's 1960s.
It is. It's true.
Well, I grew up listening to it because my mom and dad, they would just put the records, on.
Did you guys have one of those coffins in the hallway? You walk in, you open up the top, and it's got
They
the record
had
player.
one.
You know,
Yeah.
it was the size of a small Buick, and you open it up. It was fine oak.
Yeah.
Right, and they had a spot for the records, and they had cassette thing, and they had a reel-to-reel.
Danica, Kasia, do you know what this is? Have you seen?
I mean, I know what it is.
What is
I mean,
it?
not that
What's it called?
particular one.
What's it called?
This is a record player album.
Record player album.
Nailed it. I sure miss
My
those
dad
record
had
player
one.
album stores.
Oh my God.
My dad had a huge one, but all he played was jazz in our house. It was like jazz 24/7, like all jazz music. But
like
I
jazz.
don't like jazz, so
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't like it very much. So
You know what
my
happens
poor
when-
father
when we make
tried so hard.
We make a bad mistake up on stage. We just call that jazz.
Yes,
Like,
well, because you just don't know, right? You don't know. It all sounds good.
It does all sound good.
But yeah, that's
So what were you listening to in high school? What was your go-to in high school?
Let's see. It was like a lot.
Taylor Swift.
No, she came after.
Wasn't Boston?
What was it's Gwen Stefani.
Oh, that was a big one, and she's from California.
Yeah,
so
so
What were you listening to?
big for me back then.
everything. I was always a little bit of everything. My dad's a classic rock guy. My mom, it was Celine Dion all day long. So her and I've seen Celine Dion live. So it's like from Celine Dion to like AC/DC, like we run the gamut. But I love Chris Stapleton. He wasn't around when I was in high school, obviously, but yeah, I love country, contemporary stuff. I mean, if it's good and it's easy listening and you enjoy it and the person's talented, if the music is great, I will listen.
Did they have record stores when you were in high school still?
Yeah.
They did, okay. And was it 8-track tape or was it, do you even know what 8-track tape is?
No.
So it's probably
It was
cassette.
not
Oh, it was CDs.
It was cassettes.
Cassettes and
I
CDs.
started with, Gwen on cassette, and then the CDs.
That's your first album?
Yeah. It was one of them.
Mine was,
yeah.
you know my first album? Lady and the Tramp.
Lady loves that. I had that one too, probably.
You know what mine was?
What?
Mine was 1974 Carl Douglas Kung Fu Fighting.
Kung Fu Fighting, yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a 45.
No, I bought the album.
Oh, no kidding. Talking about one-hit wonders. All right, on the air, it's on the air. We got much more to come. Teresa Sardina, Kasia Gregorczyk, Danica McAdam, Tommy, and the on-air band. We'll see you in a minute.
I think all my
Okay, so do you realize? I just realized, and it was really, really disconcerting. We're in the third quarter of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Like July 1st marks,
going?
right?
You should be starting your Christmas
Well, we're something.
whatever shopping list right now.
I'm already thinking of breaking and entering Christmas.
Okay, are we doing this again?
Yes.
Are we sponsoring?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you.
Let's roll.
We're thinking about vacation days.
Vacation days. It's
Ladies and
Amazon
gentlemen, give it
Prime
up for
right
Sully
now.
for sponsoring a $50,000 sponsorship.
What?
Wonderful.
We pay it out $10 a week over time. The Black Friday used to start day after Thanksgiving. Now it starts like next Friday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then, no, it's literally it's Amazon Prime. They call it Christmas in July.
It's amazing to me how this time sneaks up on us. But at the same time, I wouldn't have it any other way in San Diego because the weather doesn't change in the greatest 3 months out of the year: November, December, and January here in San Diego. So, we'll put our list up online so you guys know what to get us this year.
And speaking of time, my granddaughter just turned 6.
Oh, yay!
Seriously.
Little Tommy.
Where does the time go?
Right there, that was your cue to say, hey, wait a minute, you're not a grandfather.
Yeah, that's What?
You should have brought her in.
It is kind of weird that you're a grandfather.
Yeah, it is.
You're little Tommy.
I know.
It's a sordid story.
Yeah. And speaking of little Tommy and the Jeff and Jerry Showgram, we reunited August 7th.
Yeah. For the
Morning show boot camp.
Boot
There's
camp.
a
And they
radio
honored you
convention.
guys.
There's a radio convention in San Diego, and they recognized and honored the Jeff and Jerry Showgram for all that the show did in San Diego for almost 30 years.
Are you?
Awesome.
It is. Are you? Would you ever consider putting that show back together?
Hell no.
No.
No, just kidding. We're all family now.
Yeah.
And we all have a text thread going, and we all make each other laugh. But I mean, that was during a time when, when people used to just watch television or listen to the radio. Now, today, 2024, you have access.
Well, I remember when I first started. I was on KSCO, my first job, and Kogo carried the Padres. The only way you could listen to the Padres if you weren't at the game was listen to the radio.
Yeah. Now it's.
And I remember when somehow we had to flip flop every once in a while where they'd air one. But I thought the minute that internet came out, where you had a choice on where you're going to watch the game or any sports or anything, boy, that sure diluted the value of how much that radio contract was going to be. Like how much the Padres had to pay. Yeah. If you think about that, because it changed everything. Because now I don't think I've watched. I think I've watched the Padres on TV, but I just go to MLB.com wherever I'm at. If I'm in a meeting, got that thing right there.
It's a whole different world.
I have a question for you guys behind the scenes. Take us through, you first, Teresa, take us through your day in terms of prep. When what time do you get there? What time do you get to leave? Is it a split shift? And then are you always prepping all day long? Or are you just, when you get there, you have a certain...
Yeah, my shift is Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 11:30 at night. So I get into work at 2:45 because I need to, curl my hair and do my makeup.
This just doesn't happen.
It's a wake up. She wakes up like that.
Yeah,
So perfect.
So I do my hair and
morning.
makeup about 15, 20 minutes, and then I get at my desk at 3, and I have to go over 3 hours of news, and I have to just go through the 4 o'clock.
So you read everything before?
I have to read everything before. And so I go through the 4 o'clock, I go through the 5 o'clock show and the 6 o'clock show, and I figure out who I'm going to be interviewing, but I have to go through every single little thing to make sure we have the source, fact check.
Yeah.
And just to have an idea and know the rundown, know the entire show, because sometimes the prompter will go out and you have to know what you're talking about. So I get in at 3, 2:45, 3. The live show is from 4 p.m. to 7.
Are you prepping the whole time and fact checking the whole time also?
Yeah. So
Even when you're sitting there, you
even
got
when
the
we're sitting there.
laptop.
So during commercial break, we're going through all the news stories, and we have to listen to the producers in our ear.
It seems like such a cruise job. Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So from 4 to 7 p.m., we're live, and then we have a 2-hour break.
Okay, that's where my next question is.
Where do you go to dinner?
2-hour break. I would assume, maybe not you, that maybe you'll have a couple drinks, and then when you come back, and then or people have
a couple of pops in between.
that would
and then
happen.
at 10 o'clock, it's more fun. You guys are all giggly.
Looser.
I'm sure that happened back in the day, but no, I don't drink during my 2-hour break. Usually, I just
I would chug one and take a nap, man. I like this. Boom.
Sometimes I go home or run some errands. I go to Target, and then I have to be back by 9 p.m. and then get ready for the 10 o'clock show. So we're live from 4 to 7 and then 10 to 11:30. The 10 o'clock is a big show because you're gathering the full day of news.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure you have the best stories, the most updated stories in the 10 o'clock. So
Is weekend
by.
similar? Similar type?
Very similar. I have the same hours as Teresa, 3 to 11:30. It's just my days are different, and then I'm reporting a few of the days and anchoring the weekends. So the reporting days are a little bit different because you're just responsible for one story, but you still have to a lot of times come up with that story on your own, make calls, make sure everything's set up, ready to go, make sure everyone's available for the interviews that day, because then it's not a story if you don't have anyone to interview. So.
And field, you don't get a teleprompter out in the field, do you?
No, yeah.
First of all, it's teleprompter. That'd be hard. I couldn't do a teleprompter.
Both are hard.
Because it's like you know how you could just talk about something?
Yeah.
But if they write it out there, I mean, if you ever do an endorsement, remember for commercials, we had to tape them like 7 times because you never got it right. I mean, it seems like it's more difficult on a teleprompter.
I think it's easier when you have an idea of what you're talking about, and then you're reading the prompter instead of doing a cold read and you're looking at it for the first time.
But who's doing that? Who's doing the thing?
We have to do it now.
Oh, that's good because
Yes.
how do you time your
See that
cadence?
little wand that we're holding? We're operating the teleprompter.
Oh, that's good, I think, though. I mean, it's another
First
thing.
time I did it, I said this is like rubbing your belly and patting your head at the same time because you're trying to like deliver it with authority and look like you know what you're talking about, but you're also down here scrolling.
I think that would be better though than having somebody control and then you have to wait.
Have you gotten used to it?
I like it now.
Now I've gotten used to it because you're right. When someone else controls it, if you pause or something, they might keep going. So.
But you guys are great readers.
Thank you.
I watch you guys and I'm thinking you're reading the teleprompter and I'm hoping, okay, maybe she'll screw up right now.
You're rooting for
you
the
guys
wrong
never-
reason. Sometimes the prompter goes out and I feel like I'm having a panic attack. Like, oh my gosh, the black screen, and then you have to look down and figure out what's.
If I stumble over a word, I think about it for like an hour.
Oh yeah, me too.
I hate,
Logan gets over
I'm
it like
so
that.
hard on myself.
Yeah.
It's just natural. If anyone talks for that long straight, it's just going.
What about ad-libbing? Because have you ever had to watch a story and then boom, just have to talk?
Yeah, I usually break
Oh
the
yeah,
news.
totally.
And say, here's what happened.
In some ways, that's easier because it just feels much more natural because you're just talking about what you actually know in the moment and you don't have to think about it too much. You know, it just comes to you.
Well, after the break, I want to talk to Danica
Danica
about the
and
green
weather.
screen.
Guys, this is-
the green screen.
Yeah,
I
because
don't understand that.
A whole other category.
that's hard. Camera's here, you're facing here, acting like you can see something. That doesn't sound right. On the air, it's on the air. There you go. Look at this live audience. You guys got to keep coming back. It makes it so
I
much
know.
better. You guys are here.
So nice. Yeah.
I do want to say this to you, Danica. The other day when I was talking to you, you know, in your little weather office,
Yes. It's like a little closet right now. It's so small because remodeling over there.
you're a kind person.
Oh, well, thank you.
No, and the reason why I say that, I remember Allie telling me, hey, my friend and her husband, they're going through something. And he beat it, right? Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say,
Thank you.
you're a good person.
Oh, thank
She's
you.
as good as they come, 100%.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, good person. Talk to us about the thing that is being a weather person. Because it's maps, it's green screen. Talk about it.
It's fun. So I feel like I've done everything in news except for sports. And I wish I could handle sports better, but that's why I married Jeff, because he was a sports guy. Weather is fun. It is, you know what's nice about it is when you're doing news, you're really responsible for how many stories in a newscast. I mean, it kind of varies, but like 30, 40 stories sometimes. And then you're reporting, you're responsible for every single second of that story. Weather, it's like, I have this subject to cover, and I want to talk about this area here, and everyone wants like what's happening in the county. But then there's like Beryl coming up, you know, the southeast side of Texas. And so
So
you gotta
you
focus
know
over there.
that stuff, right? You're not just reading it.
No, yeah. Oh, so that's a great point. So I feel like where I've stood out the most in my storytelling, whether I'm hosting a lifestyle fun segment or anchoring and trying to ad lib or reporting, is knowing the content and not memorizing it, but just knowing what it is. Because if I know it, I can tell you about it. Just like anything in your life, if you know what you're talking about, you can tell someone the story. If you just know what's on the paper, you're not gonna own it. You won't feel it. So when I'm on the wall, I do everything in my power to know what's going on. So I'm reading through things. If it's about the heat, I'm not just talking about how hot it is, here's the temperature. Like I'll find news stories to talk about it.
Radio weather is early morning low clouds becoming sunny and warm.
You're reading though, right? You're kind of reading like what's in front of you. But if you read like about the heat and what it can do to you and how like this early heat wave we had, like no one was prepared for it. It's like, well, how does that impact you and me or my neighbors or my parents or my kids? Now it's like a story that I can kind of tell you while I'm on the wall. So not only am I showing you
it's called being on the wall?
On the wall. I say, I'm on the wall. Go to the wall. Go to the
is
chroma.
everything backwards?
Yes, it's all flipped around. That's still something I'm working on. Sometimes I'm hanging off the side of the screen like, hey, oh, I'm not on camera again. It's just my arm.
Do you make those maps yourself?
Yes, yep. I've been building them. I had a lot of training, a lot of help from Mr. Mathis. He was very helpful. And everyone at Fox 5 was very helpful as well. Brad Wills and...
So you're facing, you got a clicker thing.
I do have a clicker that slides through, right? So I'm just...
No, but you're staring at a screen. How do you, or is there TVs there or monitors
So
there?
there's 2 monitors on either, so there are walls behind me, the green screen's behind me. Then there's 2 little monitors usually, or at least 1. And then in front of me, there's the camera. And now the camera technically should have me on it, so I'm looking at myself with the map behind me.
Right.
Because we're in the middle of construction at KUSI, there's like a regular camera that has just a lens, and then below it there's a screen. So sometimes if I'm looking down, it's because I'm checking to make sure the right map is going on.
This is a lot of
there's a little bit of coordination
is.
going on. But once you start doing it, you know, you practice, you spend extra time, extra hours training, like you kind of figure it out. And there's still plenty of days where I'm like pointing.
But there's also, guys, the live thing. It's, you know, things are different. Like when, you know, even here, you see guests and stuff will there'll be a change when they realize, oh, we're on air now. For you guys are, you're juggling. But there's a live element, all of a sudden you're on. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sometimes it's like you don't even know exactly what you want to tease too. They're like, oh, you have a tease coming up. It's in literally like 10 seconds. I'm like, oh, okay, what are we gonna talk about today? Like you just got to think, okay, what do people care about? How long the heat's gonna last or whatever. It's just like something fresh that comes to you. I think when you're reporting though, you really have to know you're gonna be talking about specifically for that tease. So you've hammered it out.
I feel like this is something you guys probably thought about too. So you're in, you know, our small towns that we all started in, and then when you get to a place like San Diego, I think the first thing that went through my mind immediately was the stakes are so much higher because there's just so many more people that are watching. There's just physically more eyeballs that are going to notice if you make a mistake. So
Oh, I'm always watching for mistakes.
Oh yeah, people compare
nobody wants to become a YouTube clip.
No.
That is for sure. So we try really hard to, just be as polished as possible. And it does come, I feel like, with years, repetition, just the age and experience and the time we've spent in the business. It does come a little more natural to us, which is a good thing, hopefully. But we have our days. We all get thrown off, just like everyone else.
It's so true you say that, because that's one challenge about being in the news business is that we all go through something. We could have a horrible day. We could be going through life crisis, all kinds of things. But when you're on, you have to just shut down. You have to block it out and just deliver the news. You know, sometimes you want to like cry inside or you're emotional and everything. It's just like you have to just.
We were just talking,
it.
I think it was last week. I think it was Eddie was on or Thor was on. When you get in a fight with your partner, you know, in radio, you know, there's.
How do you think I feel?
You get in a fight, and you got to come back and act like you're fighting. Now when you're on TV, that's double.
So Kasia,
I know.
Kasia, Danica, when you guys fight, how do you guys handle it?
No, it's very scratchy.
You can
She's
tell.
got
I'm
these
like,
claws.
here
Actually,
she
neither
is
one of us
with the
do.
weather. Here she is. Take her. Kidding. No.
No, it's all good. We have fun.
We are like a family. I'm sure everyone feels that way in their respected, jobs or work environments or whatever. It really is like a family.
And a
not
shout
every
out
family
to
gets
Nick
along
James.
every day.
Nick
Shout out to
James.
Nick James,
Yeah,
he's
great.
He
Who's
should be
Nick
sitting
James?
right here.
I know.
He's our sports guy.
Been here before too.
Yeah. And Brandon Stone. Good evening.
Yeah, it's so fun with our evening team with Logan, Mark, and Brandon. And we laugh so much, during commercial breaks. So sometimes it's hard to kind of.
But isn't it interesting though how quickly these days, if you do make a mistake, it comes back via email.
They don't let you live it down. I mean, social media is what's really made it hard because they start tearing you apart if you mispronounce something or whatever. When I first moved to Salt Lake City, there was Zion, our beautiful national monument.
What'd you call it?
It's called Zion, but when I got there, I said Zion
Which is what everybody
That's
says.
what it is, and everywhere else
That's what
except
I
for
said.
Utah. So I was ripped apart. I mean, they just destroyed me. I was kind of like, how about some support? It's my first morning show, you know, like I'm working at it. I wish someone had like mentioned to me, like, hey, by the way, this is how the locals say.
I remember when Chris Merrill came to town to do our afternoons. The first thing he did is he took a ride with me and wrote down pronunciations from everything from La Jolla
It matters.
to Julian.
Yeah.
And it matters.
Hamashaw Road.
Hamashaw Road.
And it matters over here.
I was gonna say that.
And it matters with Kasia Gregorczyk.
Yeah,
Got it.
Give it up for Kasia Gregorczyk.
Teresa Sardina.